It's a Fox News alert. Israel and Iran trading fire overnight with the most strikes we have seen in months.
But President Trump posted on Truth Social earlier this morning saying that Israel and Iran are looking to do an immediate ceasefire as, quote, final negotiations on peace are proceeding.
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst was talking to the president. He is live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Hey, Trey.
Yeah, hey, guys, good morning. It looks like these sides are listening to President Trump. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps just announced they are halting attacks against Israel, but maintain the ability to fire again if the Israelis target Hezbollah in Lebanon. This is a significant development and an indication we may be looking at an off-ramp here after a whirlwind 24 hours across the region. This all started yesterday afternoon when the IDF struck the Lebanese capital of Beirut, going after the Hezbollah neighborhood of Dakhya. Immediately after, Iranian officials threatened to fire on Israel, and hours later they did just that, launching 4 waves of ballistic missiles toward the northern part of this country, sending hundreds of thousands of people into bomb shelters. The Israelis, after, decided they were going to return fire and strike Iran. But I was speaking with President Trump as these missiles were soaring through the skies of this country, getting his initial reaction. And the president told me what I would suggest to Iran: you've shot your missiles, that's enough. Get back to the table and make a deal. And again, the president reiterating his desire for a diplomatic solution today, calling on both Israel and Iran to stop shooting. The Israelis conducted dozens of strikes against the Iranian regime in response to that missile fire. And then early this morning, just after sunrise, sirens sounded across Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv amid incoming Houthi ballistic missile fire launched from Yemen, an Iranian proxy there. The Iranians then followed up with more ballistic missiles against Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and the northern city of Haifa before all of this started to de-escalate amid those calls from President Trump for both sides to stop shooting. But again, the latest information that we have, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has announced they will halt their fire against Israel, and the Israelis have not struck Iran for at least 4 hours, an indication that we may be looking at a return to ceasefire. Guys?
So, Trey, Hezbollah will not sign on to a ceasefire. Iran says we're not going to sign on to a ceasefire until Israel stops hitting Hezbollah. Hezbollah's not going to stop hitting Israel. It doesn't seem like we're going to have this. It seems like America back at Iran is inevitable.
Yeah, this isn't over, and there are still around 50,000 U.S. forces across the region, and now we are looking at 2 international shipping lanes. Remember, there is an ongoing U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports that is crippling the Iranian economy. And right now, Iranian exports are down about 90%. They're extracting crude oil at a 50% rate. This is a significant blow to the Iranian economy. And the president has indicated that blockade will stay in place. Remember, he's trying to get a deal with the Iranian regime to open the Strait of Hormuz and then ultimately disable Iran's nuclear ambitions and to export or destroy the highly enriched material that remains inside of Iran in the aftermath of the U.S. strikes last summer during Operation Midnight Hammer. But there was an interesting development earlier today when the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen got involved in the fight, because not only did they launch 2 ballistic missiles toward Israel, the Houthis announced that they were closing the gateway to the Red Sea indefinitely. And it is known as Bab al-Mandab, which translates broadly to the Gateway of Tears. And that is what it is referred to in the region because around 12% of the world's shipping actually passes there through the Red Sea. And so we're now looking at 2 international shipping lanes and more levers that the Iranians are trying to pull because they're backed in a corner. They don't have much leverage at the negotiating table. Much of their military was decimated during Operation Epic Fury. Their navy is resting at the bottom of the Persian Gulf. And they're trying to use what is left of their proxy groups in places like Yemen and Lebanon to put pressure on regional countries and U.S. forces across the Middle East. Right now, it appears like things are returning toward the negotiating table. But remember, President Trump holds the cards here because of that U.S. naval blockade. If the Iranians want to drag out these talks, they're the ones that are going to pay a very heavy price as it relates to their economy. And U.S. and Israeli forces remain on high alert across the region if the Iranians decide to resume missile fire toward Israel. Likely then we'd look at a scenario where higher level combat operations would resume.
So, Trey, real quickly, can you speak to these young people, these college students that are now going to be protesting? Over the weekend, it was reported that Iran is going to start doing the trials again of people that they say are traitors to the government, meaning people that are just, they don't want to be executed, live life like normal people. What's going to happen to these kids out here? Are they going to be a part of that 30,000 number again that they target?
It's certainly a scary situation for Iranian civilians. And oftentimes when we talk about this story, we speak about the ballistic missile fire and the airstrikes taking place. But remember, Iran is a country of more than 90 million people. And many of those people were in the streets of their country earlier this year demonstrating against the economic conditions inside of Iran. And President Trump says 42,000 of them were slaughtered in the streets of their own country. And it wasn't just in the capital of Tehran. It was across Iran where there was this brutal crackdown from Iran's besieged forces and IRGC commanders. Now, many of those commanders and their headquarters were taken out in U.S. and Israeli strikes during Operation Epic Fury. And now that the internet is partially back on, we're starting to get more information and images out of Iranian territory. But remember, all of this is connected here, because when we look at the domestic pressure put on the Iranian regime as a result of this ongoing U.S. naval blockade, the pressure continues to rise. And as recently as about 4 months ago, the Iranians were considering moving their capital from Tehran because they couldn't get water to the civilian population. This speaks to how desperate the regime is, and that was before their military was damaged so heavily during Operation Epic Fury. And so we are looking at a very complex and multifaceted situation that involves the civilian population on the ground in Iran. You have hardliners in the IRGC that are still threatening to fire on U.S. bases across the Middle East. And then you have these more relatively moderate voices that exist in Tehran, like the parliament speaker, Mohammad Ghalibaf, or the president, Masoud Pezeshkian, that understand they cannot beat the United States and Israel on the battlefield, and they will have to make concessions at the negotiating table.
Right.
Guys,
and they've been sidelined, those moderate voices, it seems. Trey, thanks so much.
Thank you, Trey.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.